Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Jason and I are here this morning having a chat around Christmas gifts, about Christmas gifts, and somehow orgies and...
Well, it's me we're talking about, so welcome to Christmas.
Exactly. But it was fun. It was funny. And then all of a sudden I said, but we're live now. So if you heard the tail end of that conversation, mea culpa. No, Jason culpa.
Not my culpa.
It's a Jason culpa. Isn't that a cute ring? Roseanne, good morning.
Shmata, hold it up. Let me see what you're wearing. Is it a scarf?
It's a scarf.
Oh, it's cold there, huh, Mama?
It's chilly and it's damp and it's dark. Oh my God, it's 8 o'clock. And I mean, look how dark it is out there, Jason.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like nighttime. I mean, it's ridiculous, but hey, you know, whatever.
To repot your spider plant. She's crowded.
I have repotted her, so I'm waiting for spring so that I can get, you know, good soil and repot her at the same time. I can do that outside. Right now, there's just no way you're going to get me to do that. She's huge, and bless her heart.
I think I told you the story on the air like a year ago, but remind me sometime to tell you that miraculous story I have about plants and my mom. We had a thing, and it was one of my first psychic experiences. It was when the tarot cards jumped off the bookshelf.
Oh, was your mom still alive? Or
that's yeah. Like messages from the crypt. But anyway,
I think one day after the holidays, after I get back from my trip, we should do a morning show about all the ghosty things that have happened to both me and you over the course of time. Well, and literally, it'll probably take us a whole week to do it because of all the different things that have happened.
You know what I was thinking was, how did we miss? I mean, I know we got busy with like the devil card and stuff, but how did we miss that opportunity this year during Halloween?
Because it wasn't the right timing. I don't know. Who knows? Because, you know, somehow Christmas time brings this up. So I want to talk to you guys. I have lots to talk about today. I see you're in your smoking jacket, so hopefully that means you don't have to leave right away.
No, I am healing up. My chiropractic is successful. He's probably going to come on again on Wednesday's show. But please, you are frothing. You're brimming, as they say.
I have lots of good stuff to share. So first of all, this one thing that I do every year, right around, let's see, it's called the 12 Days of Christmas. So you start on the day after Christmas, so December 26th, and you do it through January 6th. And every day, at the end of the day, you journal what your observations are of the day, what's happened to you during the day, what's happened on the world stage during that day. And then what that is sort of a prognosticator of what the energies are going to be like during those times of the astrological year. So December 26th roughly equates to Aries, the 27th to Taurus, and on down through the month. And I've done this before, and it's so interesting to see some of the correlations of things that happen in my own life based on some of the prognostications that happened this 12 days of Christmas.
What do you call this process?
The 12 days of Christmas.
I find this idea that keeps coming up with you and me. If anybody watches us, you'll know that we have certain themes and we can't seem to get away from them. But this one theme in particular of the macrocosm reflecting microcosm, microcosm reflecting macrocosm. This idea that one observes each day after Christmas, each day the micro of the macrocosmic month.
Perfect sense, right? And this isn't even my idea. This is something I read like 5 years ago. I've got books that I could go back to where 5 years ago or more, even maybe, I was doing this process after I read this email about doing this kind of writing, and it's fascinating. It's just fascinating, and you know, it's what I think is fascinating about it is that there's something to that microcosm of the macrocosm, and that as above, so below kind of stuff that we talk about all the time. And Sometimes I would even write like what the major astrological configuration was for that day and how that played out in my life, and then watch what happened during that month that it occurred in the astrology wheel. So I would encourage everybody to take that up. If you have questions, you know where to find me. You can email me and ask me. Now, my other exciting thing this morning, of course, today is the very last moments of Saturn's transit through Sagittarius. Literally, Jason, at 4:19 this morning, I was awake with my guts grumbling, telling me like, get up, get going, do something. And I look at the clock and I went, no way. I am not getting up. So I lay back in bed. I don't even go back to sleep until 6 something. And by that time, it's almost time for me to get up, because there's this sense of anticipation that I have. Now, you got to remember that, you know, Saturn changing signs is huge. And not only that, it's changing into its own sign. It's changing into a sign it rules, Capricorn. So I wanted to give a couple of observations. I know we've talked about this ad nauseum, it seems like, but I'm going to talk some more about it because it's really fascinating. And then I'm going to go to the Galactic Center, because I got some really good questions from Mimi last night about the Galactic Center. And so I have some more things in my head that I want to talk about that.
Hey, Janet, do you know exactly, do you have written down what you want to talk about?
I do.
Because you're doing it again. You're talking, and I started channeling again. Can you please just write this down for after the broadcast?
Surely.
Manic behavior versus emptying the generator's battery. How to say no, when to stop. Sorry, folks. We'll explain another time. Janet has this sound thing that she does. She has this weird siren witching thing. I sort of blank out, and then I get all these downloads. Something happens with her voice when I hear it, and then it opens me up, and I do these weird things, and then we talk about shit afterwards. Delete that. Sorry, Janet.
Okay. Going back to Saturn, as the picture frame reindeer pokes me in the eye. Going back to Saturn, today Saturn changes signs at 11:49 p.m. your time, 8:49 p.m. Pacific time. And
Capricorn!
Into Capricorn. And so a couple things were occurring to me this morning as I'm thinking about what does all of this mean, is that Capricorn and its relationship with Saturn are really considered to be the master builders. Now, where have we heard this term before? We hear it in numerology with the number 22, and we hear it in...
and the number 4.
Right, and number 4 is also a number of building. But we also hear it with the generator type, right? That you're here as builders of something. And, you know, a good 35% of the population out there are generators, or manifesting generators added in makes it more like 70%. And that puts us in a position of mastering something, building something and mastering something. And so in Capricorn now, we get this possibility on the outer world that we start to see a rebuilding. The rebuilding of what Pluto has been showing us as destruction over the last 8 years that it's been sitting there. 8 years? Holy cow. Yeah, since 2008.
What's the other word? If it's not destruction, what's the other word we used the other day that I liked better? When you take a salad and take it apart, deconstructed.
Yeah, so Pluto has been deconstructing, and now Saturn is going to come through and help us rebuild.
I like that.
What I really think is fascinating, and this is where this all came up to me this morning, is that yesterday we had a horrible train derailment here in Washington State. And luckily it was way south of where I live, but people died, and the freeway, I'm sure, is still not open, and it's the main connection between Washington and Oregon and down to California. Yeah. So I'm sure it's going to cause some real problems. But one of the themes is infrastructure. As in, this train going around a bend broke through a bridge container, and probably because it was old, and who knows? I mean, the NTSB is going to come out with whatever their story is.
Wasn't this constellation of stuff the same hue as the Hoboken train?
No, I don't think so. Although I'm pretty sure Mercury the Trickster was involved. The main message came through, God help us, President Trump a few hours after the accident, or maybe it was only an hour after the accident, when he said, "Watch for my new infrastructure building policy."
Yes.
And he said problems like this, the train going over a bridge and dumping down onto the highway, kind of underscores our problems with infrastructure.
Our fate with President Trump?
Yeah. Now, isn't it funny that he's the messenger of this particular, or the bringer of this message, because literally he has no brains.
They're going to be voting today, I believe, or he's going to be disclosing his plan, or anyway.
I don't know. Okay. But the point was, he was bringing out to the outer world what's been already happening on our inner world, and that is a rebuild of our inner structure. And now we have to look at the outer world and our infrastructure. And the last time this kind of major infrastructure happened was back with Roosevelt and the New Deal. And so you're going to see, and you guys mark my words, we're going to see all kinds of structures and forms in a rebuilding mode. And that may even be because Pluto's still in Capricorn, destruction first with the potential for rebuilding after. So it should be a really interesting.
And for all you kids out there that don't have a fucking clue what she's talking about, the New Deal, look up Roosevelt, tag, New Deal, history. You'll hear it all. No time for all that right now.
Yeah. So the other thing that makes me go a little bit of willies is the fact that the last time at the New Deal was also the time that Uranus was moving into Taurus.
I've told you about talking about my anus this early in the morning.
Jason, please, this is important. Don't tease. Because at that time, what had just happened? The Depression.
Yeah.
The New Deal came up because they needed to put America back to work in support of people who were not working and not able to feed themselves. So these things kind of go hand in hand. Saturn into Capricorn, and then Uranus moving into Taurus later on in the year. And I'm not saying we're going to see a repeat or a three-peat.
I was waiting for that. I'm like,
I'm not saying that, but we did not learn the lessons. I guarantee you we have not learned the lessons because we're still monkeying around with the same economy and with the same issues. If we had learned the lesson, this wouldn't even be a problem. It wouldn't even be on our horizon. But the potential is that we're going to see some major thing like the New Deal come up that puts Americans back to work, building bridges or rebuilding bridges. We already had a bridge fall a few years back here in Washington that disrupted the artery between us and Oregon and California and Canada. So we already know that things are crumbling and it's time to rebuild. Can we do it in a way that's sustainable? Because Saturn represents that sustainability factor. It is time-centered. Longevity is favored. So can we do it in a way that supports the Earth and supports our structures and forms? So for 2018, Saturn will only make it from the 1st to the 11th degree of Capricorn, and it's going to retrograde in between there as well. So really, the length of time we're talking here is 3 years, almost 3 years, because of the time it takes for Saturn to get through that sign. So.
Wow.
Now, can I on, or do you want to pull a card? Do you want to talk about the day, or should I go on?
I wanted to announce how exciting it is. I have a dear friend. When I say we go back to college, I'm talking about 1987. And his name is Chris Royce. And Janet, when I say to you, this gentleman is exactly that. He's a gentle man. Terrific singer. We sang together in college in the conservatory. And he's in Shanghai right now singing in an operatic quartet for Disney. And he was just watching in today for the first time, and he sent a note. I guess not everybody knows. I mean, not to say that he's technically challenged, because people like us are. He used to do Broadway. He used to do live feeds on Facebook as well. Anyway, a dear friend, and he's in Shanghai right now watching us.
Wow.
And he's asking, is there a beginner course in how to use this program? To interact. Well, it looks like you're interacting now, Chris. So I think
you are. And Chris, if you have questions, feel free to ask. The problem is that I can see the board, but Jason cannot. So that when I'm talking, everything pauses that gets shown on the screen because I'm busy. And of course, Jason on the other end doesn't see the comments. So I guess you do see the comments. You just can't respond, can you?
No, I cannot respond.
At least not with typing, but he can respond with his voice.
But even though I was jesting and joking before, I'm not done with your topic. So I have questions. So do you want me to pull a card or do you want me to go back to what you were talking about?
Well, I want to complete with the Galactic Center and Saturn because this has been an important theme throughout 2017, and how appropriate that here we are in the wind down of 2017, and the Saturn at the Galactic Center transit is also winding down and changing its sort of focus. But the Galactic Center, and this goes out to Mimi, because Mimi asked me this question last night, and I thought, it is a really fascinating thing to talk about the Galactic Center. Not many astrologers do, yet every one of you have the Galactic Center sitting in your chart. And it sits in your chart wherever 26 to 28 degrees of Sagittarius is. And so where that house is where you tend to bring in some really highly energized information. I always think of the Galactic Center and the information that comes from it as the galactic superhighway. When we think of, the information highway, the getting on the internet and being able to, connect to anything and download information or documents or whatever, pictures, the Galactic Center is that place for us humans, where we have the ability to tap in to the stream of consciousness that is applying its energy to our planet. And, you may experience this in times at night when you're dreaming and you have a profound dream that comes true. You may experience this in lucid dreaming or daytime sort of escapist tendencies when you happen to be off in la la land and some profound piece of information comes to you. Because the Galactic Center is always active and it's always streaming this information. And literally all we have to do is learn to tap in. It's just like, taking your keyboard and typing into Google, search law, and you get it. That's what you're doing with the Galactic Center. Now, the Galactic Center moves much like every other body in the universe, but because it's at the center of the solar system, its apparent movement is only 1 degree of the zodiac every 72 years.
Is that why that whole Sagittarius-Capricorn Ophiuchus thing happened?
It's a part of that, right? Because it's precessing, meaning instead of moving like things usually do from 0 degrees to 30 degrees in the zodiac, it's backing into the zodiac.
I have to tell you, out of all the concepts that you have put before me and I've ruminated over, that particular Ophiuchus Galactic Center, this overlap, because it's talking about a conceptual space that is so hard to conceptualize.
Well, with Ophiuchus, what we're talking about is the galactic plane. We're not really talking about the Galactic Center there. We're talking about the strip of constellations or zodiac signs that constitute the ecliptic plane. And at one point, the sun was not going through Ophiuchus. It was above the ecliptic plane. But now with precession, now every year during Scorpio, what we term Scorpio in the zodiac, there's a point in time where the sun is actually moving through the constellation of Ophiuchus. And that is what has caused some of the dilemma with astrologers, is that why, and people well, if we have this new sign that the sun is moving through, why does that not translate into astrology? Which I find is a great question, and astrologers will argue it to death. But I think it's time for a rewrite with that. And I'm not sure, I'm not the one necessarily to do it, but I keep watch on it because I think it's interesting to see. Huh?
I think you are.
We shall see. I don't know. I have lots of other things going on. So Saturn at the Galactic, huh?
Go ahead.
Let me finish this up and then I'm done talking for the moment.
Right.
So Saturn at the Galactic Center has brought us through evolution, has brought us karma, We see that every day. Another man falls, or another person is called into, the lack of transparency in the way things have been working in the world comes into question. It has been transforming our beliefs. We're really having to look at what we believe to be true. What is holding you back personally is another big theme that we've been dealing with. And is it your finances? Is it your beliefs about what you can do or not do? Is it playing the victim game? Jason worked through this energy once already this year.
Working.
And it's still working, indeed should be still working, as this is an evolving theme for humanity. So even though Saturn will no longer be at the galactic center, the lasting effects of it are there for us to work with, even into the energies of Capricorn. So I hope that answers everybody's questions. I'm going to let you talk for a second, Jason, and ask your questions, and I'm going to see if anybody else has questions coming through the chat that I need to answer. And I can't see them. Why not?
All right. Well, here's my question for you, oh soothsayer. Oh, Swami.
Swami.
Some of us who don't have as tight a grip on astrology, you know how you say something, it's like telephone, and then you think you heard something, you're not, like, okay. So before I go ahead with my usual left side brain Capricorn bullshit,
that's code for he's going to run me through my paces.
When you were discussing, I believe the moon pulling out of Sagittarius, correct? Going into Capricorn. That was how you started the show.
The moon, Saturn.
I take 9.
The moon is in Capricorn, so that works too.
When Saturn moves into its compatible sign, Capricorn, you then discuss the infrastructure scenario with respects to the New Deal and the Great Depression. And I may joke, but is what you were saying that we have the exact sort of constellation of stuff occurring that we had then? The exact?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, the theme is similar. The way it affects the world is going to be different because we're in a new day and we have new people and we have new, we've evolved. So, but anything.
And my thought behind that, right?
What's your thought behind that?
Is it exactly like that? And okay, I always kind of look at things like the chips are stacked here. We will, Chris. We'll be gentle. We are. What do you call it? When I hear that, I go, okay. Does that mean that there's a really good thing that happening again, or I mean, like?
Well, if we just take a peek at what the New Deal did, the New Deal built highways that crisscrossed the United States, right? That was the main focus. That and railways connecting the East Coast to the West Coast.
All right,
and the New Deal.
I'm hoping that this buffoon, this Cheeto, does what he said he was going to do about making America great again. And I hope that we do see an influx of roads being worked on and more jobs being built here. And I'm all for it in theory.
The difference here is that we've now evolved to a point where we have technologies now where we could build things smarter. Right? If we just take a bunch of money, and this is how the government often works, they just grab a bunch of money and they throw it at contractors and say, here, we need this highway built. And then the contractors, and I'm not saying all contractors do this, but they pad the budget with all kinds of expenses. And the New Deal ends up costing Americans billions of dollars instead of the millions that it was meant to cost. Yeah. And so people do get put back to work, but the ultimate cost is less quality and probably some glaring problems in the way it was built. Saturn and Capricorn is not going to let that pass. that is going to cause bigger problems. So we have to do this correctly. We have to build things. We know that we can power things with solar energy.
Hey, do it better this time, folks.
Do it better. Do it better. Do it smarter, and do it cleaner. We don't have to have the excessive things. We just need to have things that are going to work and are going to last into the next time that something big like this happens in the astrology landscape.
All right, Janet, say stop.
Stop.
You have picked the devil card for the day, madam. This is the provocateur.
The devil made me do it.
This is the card of Saturn, right? This is the card of Capricorn in many ways. You see the goat?
Yep, I see the goat.
Okay. You see the big, large cactus penis?
I do. Now, and I see the goat ball.
Now, a prickly penis is not a comfortable penis. And let's discuss the penis. Now, it is the provocateur card. It is the card that says all of those things, it's time to get a jump on again. And it's time to be creative. It's time to come together. The deconstruction has already happened. Now I need to instigate you to move forward. It is the instigator card. It is the card that Janet would say niggles at you. It is a card that says if you're having instincts by way of creation, by way of doing, don't not do it. I know that's a double negative.
Don't not do it.
However, that's the key for today. You've got these wonderful inspirations, these wonderful downloads. Go about it with, strategy and type. But the day is going to be filled with these like aha thingies, these moments of, oh, you should do this. It would be great if you started that book. Oh, it would be great if you went to the gym. Now granted, Mercury is in retrograde. So if you spoke to my astrologist, you know her, great lady, a little chatty. She will tell you, don't start too much new, please, during this retrograde. If you want to go back to old shit, great. As a matter of fact, Janet Hickox, here is my favorite quickie retrograde story for you.
Okay.
I haven't spoken to Chris Royce in probably 20 years.
Wow.
It was one of those friendships where, button got put on pause and we went our ways and doing things, and we met and intersected with other people. But interestingly enough, it was one of those moments where I was on Messenger and I saw that it was blue and he contacted me, whatever. And before you know it, I'm FaceTiming my friend like Spock and Kirk, like in this box, and he's in Shanghai. But that's the beauty of Mercury. So I don't always shit and poo-poo on Mercury because I got to reunite with a dear.
But Mercury retrograde does that. It brings people back to us from the past.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, so
to show you, it's been like 20 years. Anyway.
And that's what the power of Mercury retrograde does.
So
it's not always all bad. It's not always train wrecks and car problems and plane delays.
Or better yet, okay, perfect example. I thought about you, Janet, it's a little sick because I'm sure anybody in our lives is like, what's this guy that you've never met all the way across the United States? There are some times, not only are we playing this word game now thing, which, I want to knife you 9 out of 10 times, but that's my own issues. Yeah, go ahead, lick your chops. Go ahead. I will beat you one day, woman. I will beat you. But anyway, yesterday, that huge outage of power in the airport, 1,500 flights, it was just like, boom. That's what everybody said. They all made that noise. They said all of a sudden they were sitting there and went, boom. And the entirety of the airline went out. So, talk about Mercury. It's not a joke.
No, it isn't. But it does expose, the things that are weak. The weak links get exposed, or the places where we haven't thought things through properly before we've taken action. So, I mean, it does serve a purpose. It's an annoying purpose, but it does have a purpose. It makes us, it should make us take pause before we do anything, before we say anything, before we launch anything. I had this blurb. I was working on making up a new welcome series of emails for people who would request their human design charts. When I put it in and started the process, it decided it was going to send it to my whole list of people who did not request charts, but may have, been on the list for a long time. And so then I start getting, email after email. People are so crappy sometimes.
Yes.
Why are you sending me this? How come this? I didn't request a chart.
Why? Because I see death in your chart, and I thought you'd
I would never do that. Never do that. But the point was, I had done this under a Mercury retrograde, and something unbeknownst to me was happening when I went to combine lists. I probably missed some disclaimer that said, don't do this before you start your welcome email message, but I didn't see that. And so that happened. And then I have to deal with with all of the outcomes of that, right? Dealing with people, having to, put out fires, if you will. But it was a good thing, because ultimately what happened is it is cleaning my list. It is cleaning my list of people who no longer want my information. Hallelujah. See you later. Bless you. Go on your merry way. And two, people whose emails have changed that, aren't, going to be on the list anyway because they're not receiving it. So it underlying everything, it was a good thing. It was just annoying in the beginning. So usually there is a rhyme to the reason, and a reason to the rhyme, however you say that. And it doesn't end up being, horrible, but it can be embarrassing. It can be annoying. Unfortunately, when it hits the big things like train wrecks and outages at airports, it affects masses of people as opposed to, just an individual.
I think of Mercury as the celestial hemorrhoid of the cosmos. It's just annoying. It's like,
well, he is called the trickster. He is the trickster.
It'll go away, but just it's like it's the cosmic hemorrhoid. Oh my God, we really should write this shit down, Janet. I love you for letting me abuse you like this.
I'm going to write that down. Jason is a cosmic hemorrhoid. Oh, yes. I mean,
hey,
Mercury.
Cosmic hemorrhoid and numbers. Look, we have 11 people watching. Woo! I think it's a new high.
I wonder who I pissed off today that everybody wants to listen. So let's talk about the moon. The moon is in Capricorn today, so we are interesting. It's interesting because remember I told you guys a week ago that the stellium, the congregation of planets in Sagittarius, was going to make its way through to Capricorn. And indeed, we're starting to see that. The moon is there now. Capricorn is moving in there today. The winter solstice is on Thursday, and the sun will move in there. And Venus not far behind the sun. And so we will now shift from the light and the optimism of Sagittarius to the more pragmatic approach of Capricorn. So fundamentally, you all should be feeling a shift in the energy, almost like, a downshift to now where, okay, now I got to slow down. Saturn slows things down so that you can take care of it in the right way. If you're going to build a house, it's best to build it piece by piece, step by step, and not just go out there and start building everything everywhere and then watch it fall down later, right? So taking steps one at a time and being fairly pragmatic in our approaches, keeping things within limits. And for those of you who are interested in the health aspects, Saturn rules the skin, the teeth, the bones, and the knees in particular. So those will be the parts of your body that will be screaming at you if you're not paying attention to Saturn.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! So, Jason, that's all I have for this morning. If I didn't see anybody with questions out there, of course, Chris says he's lost. That's okay, Chris. If this is the first time you're hearing a conversation about astrology, bless you for being here. You will learn more and more if you come here every morning. You can tune into our radio shows on Thursday. Living Astrology is on at 4 p.m. Pacific. And we even talk Astrology and Jason show, which is on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. East Coast time.
And if you're available during those times, you can always call in Janet's show, Chris, on Thursdays for free mini reading. I just take your information behind the scenes. I'll be in the background so we can shoot the shit. And Janet will do a free mini reading on you on the air. And of course, I will always pull cards for you. Oh, that's interesting. Is this card applicable to all or just certain signs? Nope. My cards are universal for all across the spectrum.
It's the energy for the day, Chris. He pulls a card each day, and that represents the energy of the day. And I talk about whatever I talk about energetically from the stars based on a day. And sometimes that takes us into territory that you might not be familiar with, but, you know, there's always Google.
And for what it's worth, dude, just so you know, out of all of the conversations about astrology, for me, the whole galactic center thing, bro, it's still like Carl Sagan shit, like billions and like it's, you know, that stuff with the guy that has like meh in the wheelchair, Hawkins. It's like Stephen Hawkins stuff, like. So don't think you're alone. Yeah, Katie, God bless you.
God bless you, Katie. I'm going to go through my second Saturn return here in about a year and a half. Thrilling. I'm excited. I'm facing it right on, and I'm going to just embrace whatever it is that it brings to me. And that's the way to deal with these kinds of transits, right? You embrace them, and you look for the juice. You know, I just had this picture in my mind, Jason, to help with the galactic center. So, you know, you're a meditator. And a lot of people that listen to us probably are meditators. So in your meditation, maybe if you were able to envision the spiral of our galaxy, of the Milky Way, of the solar system, excuse me, and right at the center of that solar system is the point at which all of that energy is emitting from the galactic center. And I would picture it as a stream of energy that's coming out from that center. And in your meditation, then, I would align myself with that stream of energy that's coming from the galactic center. And then I would sit with that energy and just let it bathe me from the crown of my head all the way down to the tips of my toes. And I would set the intention that it's going to be informing me of whatever part I have to play as it relates to the galactic center and its presence, or its energetic presence here on the Earth.
So if I was to look at it pictorially, would you say that the galactic center is directly above the sun somewhere?
I would say it's bigger than that.
I know, it's hard to talk about.
You would have to be like the Hubble telescope and back out from our solar system.
Yeah.
And look back at our solar system and see the spiral, right? The spiral of the stars in the Milky Way.
Crazy.
And right in the center of that is where the galactic center would be. And so it's spreading out like if I threw a rock in the middle of a pond and you would see those ripples coming out from it, that's the energy that would be coming out from that galactic center. And it's bathing the whole of the Milky Way, not just Earth, but, you know, we're a part of it. Our sun is a part of it. All the planets in our solar system are a part of it.
Got it.
So it's bigger.
And, you know, Janet, for people like Chris, when you hear Katie and other people say or write things like, oh, I have a Saturn return, it just means that Saturn started out at one place and it has a course that it travels around the sun. And when it comes back and finishes off where it started, it's returning. Depending on where it returns in your chart, you're either fucked or not.
It's all relative, right? If you kick and scream and push and resist, then those transits can be difficult. But if you embrace, just embrace what's happening, and, you know, let it work through you and not you, without you resisting what's happening.
Right. Don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you.
Yeah. Then it becomes something evolutionary. It becomes some growth sort of thing, as opposed to something that's punishing. And, you know, Saturn always gets the bad rap. That is the one planet people always think of as the great punisher.
Because it's so beautiful.
the and gift of sustainability, of your authority, of living your life authentically when you tap into Saturn. So he is our friend. Without Saturn, you are a puddle of meat lying on the floor because he rules the bones.
I wish I really had that on like a blurb.
Somebody make a meme of that and send it to me, and we'll put a blurb under it that says, "This is you without your bones," or something. Without Saturn, you would be a meat blob.
This is you. This is your body without Saturn.
Something like that. I think it would be kind of fun. You would also, because Saturn rules the skin, all of your organs and everything would be outside of your body. You would have no container. Saturn is often the container for something.
We have definitely devolved in this conversation.
That is a really funny picture.
It really is.
Anyway. Oh, well. All right, everybody. I'm done. Jason, do you have anything else you want to share?
Nothing much other than to plug tomorrow's show. I don't know what I'm doing again. I could get really like motivated and write the next card. However,
did you finish the sun?
Well, yeah, we did it in one thing. Remember, it's a very simple message. You've ascended. Welcome.
Welcome to your new world.
Exactly. And
well, what's the card that follows the sun?
Right. That goes.
What is it?
Well, remember, if 19 was the
sun.
I'm trying to think. Wait, did I just? No, you caught me off guard. I wanted to say that's where we insert the fool, or is it? And the fool is inserted.
21. 21. You said would be the 21. Fool.
Okay.
So 20 must be what, the world or the universal card? What?
You see, the universe card is 21 in my deck.
Ah, well, which card is 20 in your deck?
That's the better question. And I want to say now I'm verklempt, I'm verstumpt. So I'll have to look it up here because now I'm panicking.
Don't panic.
So if you want to just do some filler, you want to what the fuck? I know I seem very unprofessional right now, and I should know this right off the top of my head, but of course I can't think right now. So let me see.
Why should you know what 72 cards are? I mean,
well, especially the major arcana. It's just that. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you feel like a nut. Sometimes you don't. Let's see.
What was interesting about the
okay. There we go. Your favorite card.
Which is, let me hide you. Oh, Temperance or Emergence.
Yes, and I can't remember in the Marseille deck. I think it's Temperance. I think it is. I have to go back and look it up. But yeah, this is the
butterfly.
So it's going to be interesting, the transformation of, blah, blah, blah. If we've already ascended, right, in that card, what's left? Very good question, because there are only a couple cards left. And the Fool definitely plays into that. So I haven't decided what I'm doing for my Wednesday show. I know that Rachel Parker, our resident ethno-poetress.
Katie thinks it's the Judgment card.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember us talking about Judgment before, so she may be right.
The old deck. The Judgment is the old deck. Anyway, so our resident, what do you call it? Neo-slave, she has there are these different words. She's going to be giving us some Christmas poems. Something.
Love it.
And then I'm going to give a call to Christy of Christy's Corner, because I told her I would have her on one more time before the holidays, since it's a great time to buy these essential oils from doTERRA and other words. And she's always just so much fun because, you and she are like the same thing. You're always like, oh, potty mouth. It's like sitting around, hanging out with your gnomes, garden gnomes.
I don't have any garden gnomes.
I know you don't. I was trying to paint a funny
picture.
But anyway, so Wednesday show is going to be something around that. I'll probably be doing, readings out the wazoo. And if I feel like talking about something metaphysical, awesome.
All right. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Get a reading tomorrow on Jason's show. He wants to do readings up the kazoo.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, it goes in tandem with your reading, with the show on Uranus. Readings up the wazoo.
Nice. Okay.
All right, goodbye.
Well, everybody, take care. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. It's always lovely to see you, hear you. And if you have questions, you can email them to us. You can email me at janet@living-astrology.com. And you can get Jason. Jason, what is your email address that you have most people going to? Is it Zen Staging or?
Yeah, but what I love to do is, because I'm still in the earlier stages of my business, to be able to know who I'm in contact with and create email structures. I prefer people just went to my website, which is the www.titillatingtarotwithjasonlivanis.com. That's all one word, and there is 2 L's in titillating. And so you go there and you can reach me there, and you can see what my readings are like. You know, I have everything from the big time mammy jammy hour and so through composed to the 20-minute why aren't I getting laid reading. So there it goes. Thank you for putting that on the screen. I love you, Janet. And that's about it. So I will see you tomorrow.
Sounds good. You all have a great day.
Channel.
Mwah. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.